So I guess I should do, or we should do an introduction, right?
Yeah.
So what's going on,
Do I
everybody?
introduce you or you introduce me?
We'll introduce each other. I'll say who
All
you
right.
are, and then you can say who I am, right?
Yeah. All right.
What's going on, everyone? Jamie Gardner here. Super stoked just to have a conversation with you, man. And so yeah, Jamie Gardner's been helping affiliates, coaches, pretty much just people getting sales online. And dude, we've known each other for years, since like back in the day we were trying to figure out how to get sales, and it's just cool to be on here chatting with you.
Yeah. Um, I can't do the nice intro to the same degree because I don't know your full background, to be honest, man. But anyway, this is Ron.
Yeah.
I think we connected maybe 2018, 2019, something like that. And yeah, as you're saying, like it's just kind of crazy. We are just talking just before we hit the record button, and we were trying to build our brands, and I was doing what we were doing, like a live stream challenge, I think it was, from memory. And yeah, it's crazy, like what, 6 years ago already.
Yeah,
Things move quick, right?
I know, right? Time flies. The crazy thing about that live challenge, it's funny because I like I started doing the live video every day in that group, and then I was like, oh, like I love this, and I just need to do more live streams. And so then I'm doing live streams on my profile, I'm doing them every day in my group, and then I was still like
Yeah,
confused on why I wasn't getting any sales, because I'm like, I'm
yeah.
telling everybody about my thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah.
I was the same at my peak. So I think early 2019, I remember there was a month where I was in one live challenge and I got invited to another two. So I was doing three consecutively. So I was going live three different times in three different groups, talking about random topics, and also doing the live stream in my own group every day. And so four lives, and I was also knocking out a YouTube video every day as well. It's like, yeah, I was pretty exhausted back then. Yeah, but and got no traction as well. I was actually not. That's not entirely true. I did build somewhat of an audience. I just had no idea about how to do anything with them once I had them. So
Yeah.
yeah, but man, what a crazy trip. Life's
Yeah.
taken its turns ever since then.
It's funny though, because when I look back at that, like in the moment when that was happening, at least for me, right? There was like I would feel so frustrated because I wasn't getting results that I wanted, but I felt like I was putting in like all this effort, right? I mean, because I was. Um,
Yeah,
and and it's funny because now I can see, especially after like coaching clients through organic affiliate marketing, like that's what we were doing last year. Um, and like coaching them through that, and then like helping them get comfortable on video and on camera. And they would constantly be like, dude, well, you're just like a natural on camera. So like it's easy for you. And I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what all those live videos did, because I was
Yeah.
not, you know.
No,
And
I get that.
yeah, but
So putting it all about putting in the reps though, man. That's the thing. Like I think yeah, I'm the same. I've had folks comment like, "Oh, you sound so articulate," and I'm like, I still feel like I'm a bumbling mess. Like I don't feel like I'm great at communicating. And they're like, "Oh no, you're great." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Then I think back, I'm like, I suppose if I was to think about it, there's probably about maybe 400 or 500 unlisted videos I've got on my YouTube channel. So I would estimate over 1,000 there at this point, plus another 800 on Vimeo for modules and stuff like that, and X number of live streams everywhere. Um, so
right,
a little bit of practice, I think it's probably gone a long way. So anyway, yeah, crazy, man.
yeah.
Time flies.
So one thing that I'm curious about, that I noticed something, and I saw this somewhere like in your marketing, right? On like one of your posts, or I was reading one of your long form posts, or I don't know where it was at. It was on my screen, you know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. And I noticed that you have moved away from like doing so many like sales calls, or Zoom calls for like client acquisition.
yeah,
Is that
yeah.
so? I'm just wondering, like, what kind of like prompted that for you? Like what was behind like that?
It's somewhat of an oxymoron in a way because it's complex. But basically, at the moment, I was looking at my product stack. I've created I think 12 products, and obviously I've got my coaching program that was designed for affiliate marketers, but I was trying to branch out more to affiliates when into coaches when I created that. Didn't quite work out. And that actually has a call funnel. So I am technically still actively taking calls, but I'm probably going to outsource those at some point. But
Hmm.
on top of that, I just got tired of having a calendar full of stuff, and uh, I like this idea of being able to work when I've got good energy. And so for me, I have really good energy in the mornings, and that's usually when I host my coaching calls, things like that. I do most of my content in the morning, and in the afternoon, I usually get an energy lull. And so I used to find that people would often book in sales calls or coaching calls later on in the afternoon. I'd be like, oh man, like I just I know I'm not giving my best, and so I wanted to clear my calendar up. So that from me kind of like talking about that, I then created a new coaching program for specifically teaching that methodology. It's called the Sanctum of Success, and that's sort of like quite close knit group coaching with myself, and I still run the Ultimate Marketing Mastermind program, which does have the calls, but I have had a pretty blank calendar for a very long time, and yeah, so I basically made that transition partly through, I guess, having taken quite literally thousands of sales calls at this point through various products. And I worked in sales before I quit in 2017 for about 12 years offline, so corporate and stuff. So between
Okay.
those two, I made a few of them, and yeah, I kind of got to this point where I was looking at what I really truly want, and for me, it was about designing a lifestyle. And I thought, I don't want to like, don't get me wrong. I think sales calls are the most efficient way for you to create a high ticket customer, because it brings the conversion point down into one conversation, right? So as opposed to what I'm doing now, which is like Google Docs and all that type of stuff, it means that the conversion process could be quite long winded, because it's like, here's the information, have a read through, ask me any questions, and jump in if you choose to type stuff. So what that means is that there's a disconnect. It sometimes means folks are, yeah, timing's not that great. And it's not that you force the issue with a sales call. It's just that you bring it to a point, basically. So it is more efficient. But yeah, like I say, I just kind of started getting a bit burnt out with it. Just wanted to detach myself a little bit. So have made that choice. But like I say, a bit of an oxymoron, because I do still have an active call funnel. So the plan moving forward, I don't know, we're asking about that, but I just want to address, otherwise I seem like an absolute hypocrite for having two different models playing out at once. But the plan is effectively to outsource the calls and all that type of stuff. And I've got a couple of people on standby for that. So it's kind of how I'm able to navigate that realm, shall we say.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I like it's funny because like I get that. Man, I was just thinking back before I don't know if you were aware, but like I disappeared online for a while, right? Probably like
Yeah.
a year or so. And I left just to focus on myself. I needed to get sober. I talk about it. I don't care if it's all over the internet,
Yeah, I
whatever.
remember.
Um,
Yeah.
and um, and so it, during that year, I was like working appliance repair. I was like, I'm not doing any online stuff. I'm just getting a normal job. And and then I saw an ad from Cole Gordon for his RCA, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Um, and this is right around when I was thinking like I should get back into the online thing. I don't know what I'm gonna do or what I'm gonna offer though. And and I saw that ad and I was like, oh, this is like the universe like throwing me a bone. Like I'll just go be a sales rep somewhere. And
Yeah.
I mean it was helpful because like I went, I did that. It took, I had to invest in this program and then like do a bunch of mock calls and then like get placed somewhere. And eventually like, I got placed and I was just doing setting, right? And so it's like talk about like call volume in a full calendar. It's like every day there's like I don't even know how many calls, right? Like we would want like
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
calls at least per day. And if they're not there, you're just calling everybody, like you're outbound dialing, like but it got me good at messenger and calls. It's like what I needed, right? I did that for like seven
Yep.
months
Yep.
um before doing my own thing. But then I noticed once Tyga and I we created a program together. He left last October. Now it's just me. But when we got together and created that, I was like, okay, you do the sales calls, I'll do the setting, and I'll just pass them off to you, and it'll be like a team effort. But we were still on the phone all the time between that and then coaching and
Yep.
then clients making content. It's still like 10-hour days, um,
Yeah. 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 It's big
and
day.
yeah, yeah. And so we were trying to figure out, like, I felt I ran into this wall with that too myself, like last August, and was like, all right, like I want to help everybody, but I can't just like be glued to my computer all the time. Especially when I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
you can do this and you don't have to do it for 10 hours a day. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm doing it for 10 hours a day. So what do you mean, Ron? Like,
Yeah. 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 There's a disconnect, right? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I get it. And it's interesting. I don't know if you found this as well, but like, I know for myself, if I'm like sales versus coaching, I feel like it's quite significantly different parts of your brain and use. And likewise, when you're creating content. So if you've got to like create content, you know, like hang out with folks and coach and whatnot, and then sell, it's like I just found it kind of tricky to manage my energy. And I'm not saying I'm not going to do it. Like I said, I've got this kind of weird, complex thing going on with my business at the moment, but there is a game plan in place. So, but that's interesting, man, because I've noticed. I think when we started chatting again recently, it's because I kept seeing your ads popping up. But what are you doing? Like, you running like low ticket stuff or group funnel or something?
Yeah. So I've got a couple different ads going right now to different things. So number one, so I stopped selling the organic marketing coaching like around December.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and
Yep.
uh and so I mean I still have it, like I have the course. I mean, but I'm just not actively putting a bunch of energy behind it. It's
Yeah,
in one of
sure.
my funnels. If people get it, then they'll get the stuff and they'll get,
Yeah,
my time and all that stuff with it, but I'm not talking about it to everybody. Um
sure.
and so I stopped because I was like, all right, like I want to like really like figure out ads. And so started running ads on Facebook, on YouTube. And at first, of course, it's like I'm just floundering around and it's not working. And uh and then like invested in, some different courses and programs to like help, and the normal path, right? It's like you try the stuff,
Yeah,
doesn't work, find the people who know how to do it, pay them.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and started doing that. And through doing that, I discovered something for like affiliate marketing that's like really cool. And I found this is ad spy tool that I use, where I can see YouTube ads that are running, and I can see like the different affiliate products that they're running to. um
Oh,
and
cool. Nice.
and I saw that there's like affiliate products like on ClickBank, like the stuff that I usually would steer away from because I'm like, I don't know like
Yeah,
who wants this stuff. But I see people running YouTube ads to ClickBank products, spending like 100 grand per month on their YouTube
yeah, yeah,
ads.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like,
We'll see.
oh, like you could actually do that. And then when I look at the ad, they're like faceless ads, just like made
Yeah.
with AI. And so I started trying to figure out how to do that, right? And so that's like the core of like what I'm doing now for people,
Wow, that's
is like
awesome.
building out the funnels, their ads, running their ads, just managing everything. And like,
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
yeah.
nice.
And so but at the same time I'm running ads for this offer, and it's a call funnel
Yeah,
offer, right? And that's on YouTube. And YouTube takes a while for it's way slower than Facebook
yeah.
ads.
The algo is different, eh? Like it's yeah,
Yeah.
a lot different. Need a lot more data collection, I think, from what I've seen. Well,
Yeah.
I haven't done much recently, but yeah, when I was running YouTube ads a while back, it was yeah. The suggestion was to always leave it to allow it to optimize. But man, it's crazy to say that. I've got one of my colleagues, actually a former student kind of thing, but he he went like took a deep dive into that world, and he was he didn't find the same success, to be fair, but like some of the people in like his community and stuff were cranking out like $50,000 weeks, $50,000 days and stuff like that. And I'm like, in terms of revenue and ad spend and stuff.
Right.
That just blows my mind. Like I didn't think that the volume would be there, especially for like a clickbank product. But man, it's there you
Right.
go. It's crazy. So you're just
Yeah.
running like AI based ads, you're not sort of doing
That's
your own personal branding stuff.
that's what I'm doing for like clients, right? Because I'm doing that for clients because a lot of people that I would talk to over the last year were like, "Hey, yeah, I want to do this stuff, but like I don't want to show my face. I don't want to make content." And it's like, well,
Yeah,
last year I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. This is how you that's how you do it, you know. But now I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
this
yeah,
you can do this instead. But for me, I'm still running ads with my face on it. It's all my personal brand because it's like I've been building it for years now, you know,
yeah,
and running ads for like my own offer with my face on it from my YouTube channel, like that helps.
yeah,
People are getting exposed to the YouTube channel that didn't know about it before, even if it's because they
yeah,
clicked on my ad once, you know. And I have the other ad running as like the group funnel ad. It's funny that funnel that I built. I know you went through it when you joined the group. Um, I think it was March of last year. I clicked on your profile and I saw that you had something that said like join the group here, and I clicked on it and I thought it was going to
yeah,
go to your
yeah,
group,
yeah.
and I was like, oh, this is a funnel, and I was like, I don't know why I haven't thought of this. This is genius. Like you collect an email off you and get them on the list and then send them to the group. And then
Yeah,
like
yeah.
literally that day went to work to build the group funnel.
No
Uh
way, really.
yeah,
I'm glad I inspired, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's part of my whole process because like I remember I was in groups and I'd see, hey, you have the entry questions, and a lot of folks like I think there's actually a piece of software that will pull an email address out of the question. So and then put it to your autoresponder. It was always like it doesn't make sense to me because that's like you can collect data at that point. I'm like, why wouldn't you put the opt-in before that and have like a little gatekeeper and then use those three questions for data collection, and then you can start to build spreadsheets of that stuff type stuff. And yeah, so I just did that, and then yeah, like I say, it meant that I was building my list, nurturing them, and then allowing the email sequence to push back to the group. So it meant that it was like building engagement stuff like that as well. So oh, it's cool. Glad I'm inspired.
yeah, yeah, man. um I
It's a
got a
good little
random
funnel, man.
yeah, I got a random question for you when it comes to email lists and like pushing to links in a Facebook group, right?
Sure.
Because I have an autoresponder with like probably like 4 months or so of emails, right? So when people go
Yep.
in, it's um, but I'm constantly adding to it, and a lot of the stuff in there are like the different live trainings that I've done previously in the group, right? But
Yep.
I noticed that when I open my own emails that I get because I'm on my list, you know, and when I open my emails and then I click the link from like my phone, it wants to take me to like Facebook browser, and then or it takes me to like a
Ah,
different
yeah.
like browser, and then you got to log into Facebook.
Yep.
Have you figured out or thought about a workaround for that, or have you just been like, I'm not even focusing on that?
Yeah, no, good. Yeah, really good question. And it's something I noticed as well. Like it opens natively within the email app,
Yeah,
and tries to open, yeah, like you say, Facebook or whatever, which is a pain. I've got two-factor authentication on my Facebook, so like for me to try and log in, it would just be an absolute nightmare anyway.
right.
So no, I haven't figured out a way to get around that. Yeah, yeah, no, I think sometimes what I'll do, sorry, what I used to do is just sometimes suggest that best to open in on desktop type stuff, things like that. But I haven't figured it out for mobile
Yeah,
just yet. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't actually know if there is a workaround.
Yeah, I know that there's some like deep link softwares. I just don't like I found out about these way before I was like making sales. I don't know if this company's still around. There was like Marketer Magic or something like that. I think Kevin David owned that company back in
Oh,
the day.
okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but they had a deep link software, so you could make like a short link to like any app, whether it's like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then use that link. And so basically what it would do is you click the link and then it would say like trying to open Facebook, and then you click the open button and then it goes
Uh,
there. Um, but I didn't feel like paying like a couple $100 a month just to have like links
Yeah,
open,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, and I think the fact that you're like, I haven't figured that out yet. I think that like really proves this is a point that I try to make to people like a lot, that like it doesn't all have to be perfect. It's like it just has to go.
Far from it, man. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
far from it. And it's a very hard lesson to unlearn, I think, for both like people and self included. Like I was, yeah, and I think everyone, right? When you grow up, you're like, go to school, get good grades, make sure your answers are correct, go to college if that's your jam, and then go to the workforce. And it's like in order to progress in the corporate world, you've got to do things well enough to then ascend. And so I think when you take that mentality to entrepreneurial pursuits, there's a disconnect because it's, as we know, it's not like that. Like I'll even now, like I tell my students, like they'll often say, "Oh, can you like read over my post and let me know your thoughts before I post it?" I'm like, "No, like post it and then see what the audience says." Like I
Yeah.
will read it and I will help them out with that, but like don't worry about it. Like if it's got a grammatical error or a spelling mistake, like no one's gonna punch you in the face for it. Like it's
Right.
just it's but yeah, no, and also I haven't figured everything out either. Like there was a really good question, but I'm like, oh, I probably could look into it, but I don't think I'm losing a ton of revenue off that type of thing. Like I'm sure it's an inconvenience for someone like in that environment, but the way that I also think is I've been in situations where I've really wanted to get onto a live stream. So I'll get the email for notification, which is a nice reminder, and then I'll just go to the app and I'll that's right, it's that Grinch. And I'll find it. So I think if people are really that committed, they'll find a way to make it work anyway. And I think sometimes just having that sort of impression of your name gives them that reminder. So it's not a bad thing anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good point, man. But that makes me think about like friction in marketing, because I'm kind of learning this stuff right now. I mean, I already knew
yeah,
about this stuff, but like, friction, you have multiple steps in your funnel, less people are going to come through, but they're going to be higher qualified,
yeah,
and
yeah,
vice versa for less friction. Um, one of the things that I'm learning right now is so the first person that I started running YouTube ads for, I made an offer. I just said, hey, like I'll do it for free for 6 months. I want you to be my case study. And then had a bunch of people commenting and replying, and then I got on calls with them and picked two people that were like the best people to do it for. Um,
awesome.
as far as like them being willing and able to like run the ads like financially, right? And
Yeah,
um
yeah,
and so I built his funnel and everything, got the product, started running the ads, traffic's going to the funnel, and I had the funnel originally had um like an email opt-in, but that was a pop-up. So they click the button, it pops up, they opt in, and then they get on the list that I built, then goes to the
yeah,
affiliate products. And I noticed that I was like, okay, like now I know this is early on because this is like the first week of ads on YouTube. I should have waited like a month
yeah,
before I even tried to do anything. But I was like, man, we only
yeah,
got
yeah,
6 emails. We got 6 emails. So that's only,
yeah.
and I'm like stressing about this. And I'm like, that means only 6 people were even like capable of seeing the affiliate offer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And then I went back to the ads and the landing page that I was modeling, because I use that spy tool so I can see the landing pages that people are using for their ads and stuff for specific products. And I looked at all
yeah.
these landing pages, and none of them had email opt-ins. Like you click the
Oh,
button.
interesting.
Yeah, it's literally like ads to a bridge page,
Uh,
you know?
yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah,
and then I was like, how are they like, okay, like that's just what they're doing. And so then I just made a bridge page like that. And so now I get it. Like what they're actually doing is they're running ads like that, and then they're running retargeting ads either on Facebook or on Google for the people who
yeah.
actually like get to the affiliate
Click
product.
through and stuff.
Right. And
Yeah.
and but
Do they? Sorry, question on the back of that one. Do they typically direct link after that? Because I know with Google you can as opposed to Facebook. So like if they hit the landing page and then click the link, are they like would you then just retarget back to the main the main offer?
I'm not sure about that yet. I'm still figuring that part out because
Okay.
yeah, and I think that's because like I can't use the spy tool to see their retargeting ads because well this I could, but I mean the
Yeah,
spy tool is showing just YouTube ads and I filter it for like
gotcha.
the highest the people who are spending the most, and what products that they're
Yeah,
selling and so I don't know what their retargeting ads look like. So I'm gonna have to test it and figure it out, whether they're
yeah,
whether they're direct linking. One thing that I think will be really cool, and of course, this don't take anybody watching this, don't take my word for this because it's not tested, right? But it's just, I just think, um, is that having like a Facebook pixel, of course, on the page the
yep,
affiliate like bridge page, and then like running like $1 a day, like just retargeting ads on Facebook and Instagram for the people who hit the page, even if they don't
yep,
click the affiliate link. Because this way it's kind of like uh it's just like scooping up all the people who already showed enough interest to click the link from YouTube. Because what I'm noticing is that
yep.
um spending $30 a day for this client on the ads, he's getting like over probably around like 120 clicks on his page a day, right?
Oh
From those
wow, that's really
ads.
good.
So
Yep,
so he's getting a lot of clicks and uh
yeah,
and he's getting them for like 20 cents or something like that. And so
nice.
it's
Well
like,
done.
all right. And there's about 30% of them are going to the affiliate offer. And I had my conversions all messed up at first, so he hasn't gotten affiliate sales from this yet. This has only been going on for like 4 weeks. And
Right.
and usually it's like 60 days for YouTube ads. At least that's what other people have told me. But I
Really, that
think,
long?
yeah.
Wow.
I asked my friend Joel, you probably know him, on Facebook or whatever, but I asked him because he's been running YouTube ads for his call funnel for like the last year straight.
Right. Yep.
And that's just all he does now. He doesn't do organic marketing anymore. And
Who was that? Sorry, I missed the name.
Joel Vasquez,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah, no,
and
he was mad into the organic stuff. Okay, interesting. So he's going
yeah,
to ads. Good on him.
yeah, and he was like deep in the organic stuff. But he
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, I
like
remember.
how much time it took, like following up with everybody all the
Yeah,
time, and so I was asking him just for like my own ads. I was like, okay, how do I know like what is like good KPIs for like cost per call booked for like my own ads that I'm
yeah.
running? And he's like, okay, he's like, well, first of all, you got to let the ads run for 60 days. He's like, after 60 days,
Wow.
he's like, after, yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought it'd be like 2 weeks. He's like, no, it's slower than
Yeah.
Facebook, dude. He's like 60 days. Then after 60 days, if a call is costing you $500 or more per each call, like from whatever ad, if this ad it's $500 for a call, then shut that off.
Yep.
If it's less than that, you're good. And I was like, oh,
Fascinating.
yeah, but he said,
Well,
but wait till you're at
fuck,
60
man, that has
days.
gone up. That's gone up heaps. I maybe I shouldn't say this to your audience, but anyway, I will anyway. But I started running YouTube ads for a call funnel as well in like 2021, I think it was. And I started chickening out because I'm like, oh, $300 for a call. And then I had like a whole bunch of no-shows. And I'm like, oh, I'm just blowing cash here. This is just ridiculous. Obviously not knowing that on the other side of that there was, whatever. But then finally people started rocking up and I started making sales. But I couldn't get past break even. And it was a $2,500 product. So I couldn't get past break even. It was almost like to the dot. 2,500 cost 2,500. It's like, this isn't working, which is in hindsight, it's kind of dumb. I should have just kept with it and maybe even just let the ads run longer in hindsight. But I was
Mm,
like, oh, this is not working. And I just
yeah,
didn't do anything with it. So
that's the common conundrum. It's cool. I mean, it's not cool that that happened, but I mean, it's cool to hear you say that though, because um, that's like this is kind of like aside from what we're talking about, but
yeah,
um, that's like the common like entrepreneurial like issue is no matter what level, it's like somebody starts making Facebook content for like the first time ever, and they're making call to action posts and nobody's responding, and they've been doing it for
yeah,
like a
yeah,
week, and then they're like, I
It's
got to do
not
something
working.
else. It's not working.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, it was interesting because I'd had some phenomenal months, but then yeah, like I say, I just we bought like property, and so my wife and I were saving a bunch of cash at the time, and I was like if I can't get this to go, then it's I don't know what to do. And so yeah, like I say, I just kind of chickened out, but I should go back to it because yeah, I do. I used to run an agency from like 2017 to I think kind of like 2020 is when the last client I fired them or we part of company, I should say. And then not long later, Facebook was like, you're not allowed to advertise anything anymore or see anyone else's ad accounts or anything to do with advertising. Like, okay, thanks. But
That's
um,
crazy.
it was pretty annoying. Like I put close to 7 figures through like an ad spend through my clients' accounts in that time as a managed, on behalf of things like that. And I was like, oh, it's a bit, can I chat to someone? No. Okay, cool. I guess it can't create a new account because then they ban that straight away. I was like, okay, I'm screwed here. So I know there's ways around it. I don't do anything too grey hat, so to speak. So
Yeah. That's like, yeah, dude, just go over to YouTube.
yeah. Just
Yeah.
do that. It was interesting. Actually, you made a comment before about lead quality and cost of leads, but I when the YouTube stuff wasn't working the way I had hoped, I started just doing just Google search ads and for targeted keywords. I'm like, oh, this is working. And I started getting leads for, I think one campaign was like $5.62 per lead. And I'm like, oh, it's pretty good. Like something should, and this is for my call funnel. So something should be happening here. And I couldn't book any calls off the back of that. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's actually okay if I'm paying $50 per lead, which is obviously quite expensive, but if that lead only needs 3 of them to then book one call, then it's okay, that makes sense. So it's interesting. But you,
Yeah.
you don't learn, you don't know that until you're kind of in the trenches learning this stuff, I
Yeah.
reckon.
Because in the beginning, it's like, I want the clicks to be the cheapest. I want the leads to be the
Yeah,
cheapest. It's like sometimes the
yeah,
cheapest leads are the cheapest leads for a reason,
for a
you
reason,
know?
yeah. I
Um,
actually I learned this lesson yesterday because I try to funnily enough, I love testing stuff. I'm like a kind of mad scientist, and so with YouTube, I was like, oh, I'm hosting a live training. So I've got like a newsletter, and as part of that, I will hop on a call, ask me anything once a month type stuff. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'll host it, and I'll teach about like just funnels, and I'll break down a couple of the ones that have done pretty well for me. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I can get just random people to rock up, and I wonder if I can grow my channel that way. So I don't even know the ad format, but I created like a display ad and using my own thumbnail and stuff like that. And it was idea was just to get people to hit the notify me now button for the upcoming live, which I think 2 people did. But then I looked at the stats. I'm like, oh, it was like 1,081 clicks or something like that. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. $30 ad spend, that's not bad. So about 3 cents each, and then but nothing transpired. I think I just got visibility, and whether it's like people just randomly tapping on their phone, false clicks or something like that. I'm not too sure, but
yeah.
anyway, it's an
Yeah.
experiment that didn't work. Was my point.
It's kind of interesting how this whole thing, like with the ads, like I'm actually really like enjoying like learning all this stuff like from
Yeah,
being in the
awesome.
trenches, and it almost reminds me of like the same like excitement that I had when I was like learning affiliate marketing
Yeah,
like the
nice.
first time, and I'm like, oh, trying to tell everybody in the world about
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah. It's the best thing since sliced bread, guys. You got to get on it. It's
Yeah,
this new
yeah.
thing. It's called advertising. Just found it. It's great. Yeah, I know the feeling. Oh, that's cool, man. So what? I was curious. So I think I saw you in one of the groups. Something like Laurel or something. The
Yeah, low
and
party, yeah.
did you have like a low ticket funnel you're just running ads directly to as well?
I do. It's like a $97 offer.
Oh, cool, nice.
And so, but what that is, that's on the back end of my Facebook group funnel. So people
Ah,
opt into
okay,
the
gotcha.
Facebook group funnel, then it takes them through that. It's funny when I look at like this actual funnel, like in ClickFunnels, when I'm looking at
Yeah,
just the pages, like it's all just like it's all one funnel. Like I have
Yeah,
my
yeah,
Facebook
yeah.
group funnel, like the upsells, this and that, and then I have like my call funnel is like down here where there's the opt-in, but it's all just one. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but some of the pages don't connect together, but it's
yeah.
still considered one funnel. Um,
Yeah.
but uh, but so yeah, and this is actually some advice that I got from my friend Joel like a couple of days ago about that because I was like, hey, like so right now like the calls that I'm getting like booked for like showings, like actual showings, is like $100 from the YouTube ads,
Wow,
um,
that's awesome.
and so like that's good so far. Um, haven't had enough of them to like be like, what's the return on ad spend yet?
Yeah.
But
Still,
but
that's a
that's
very good indicator, though. That's a really
yeah.
good indicator.
I mean, at first it was like 250, and then like somebody else booked, and then it went down. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. But even
Cool.
then,
That's awesome.
when it was at 250, I was like, oh, dude, this is crazy. I don't know. Like, should I turn these off? And I was like, get on
Yeah.
Messenger, like Joel, like help, like this is. And
What's
he's like,
what's the price point?
price point is what depends. It's anywhere between 7K and 10K. So
Okay. Yeah, cool. Got margin to
so
play with.
so yeah, when people hop in, it's 3K initial payment no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's like I'm like doing the math as if the 3K was the only thing, but then after that there's like installments, right?
Yeah.
Um, but uh but I want to make sure that it's like, okay, the ads are profitable from like day one when they're like yes, and then we start like doing stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And then the rest of the stuff is just like icing on the cake that's coming
yeah.
in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
weekly after that.
Absolutely, man.
Um, but what was I gonna say about the ads? Oh, so I told him that I was also retargeting people who viewed the page on Facebook
Yeah.
for the group funnel. And then he's like, that's cool and everything. He's like, but look, dude, honestly, um, he's like, that's two totally different like acquisition systems. Like you can focus on the group and getting a lot of people to the group and then having setters and people like
Yeah, yeah,
starting
yeah.
conversations, stuff that I used to do for this other business, right? Or you could just have your call funnel booking calls. Uh,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
like,
more direct response.
you can do both right now, but like you're not going to be able to scale both. Like you're going to have to like pick one or the other.
Yeah, yeah, true. The only I don't know if it's a critique so much as no, it's not a critique at all. It's an observation I've made. So you like, I guess if you were charging 7 to 10, like that's a really good price point, right? Like you have tons of margin to play with, so a little bit of wiggle room to allow for optimization. But I think one of the benefits of going the other way is that like not everyone has the cash for 7 to 10K investment in whatever, right? It might not be the right fit, et cetera, et cetera. But if you are collecting leads along the way, then there's other ways to monetize through affiliate offers or low ticket workshops and that type of stuff as well. So I don't know if one's necessarily better than the other, but yeah, I don't know. Just
Yeah. I think he was saying like I don't think one's I think they're just different. And I think
yeah,
really
yeah,
what he was getting at with that is like um when it comes to focus and like where am I going to focus on optimizing, you know?
yeah,
But the thing is like of course I took the feedback and was just grateful for it, but I also think, well, but maybe this is right, you know, like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and but that's just because like when people book call on the thank you page, it's like, hey, join the group. We have a lot of
yeah,
trainings in there, and like there's like a homework assignment to like watch this specific training in the group before the
yeah.
call, you know, that type of thing. And so people are coming into the group that way, and then
That's cool.
people put in their name and their email, they opt in before they even get the call book. So they're going through a sequence and they're going to get that same sequence that leads to the
Yeah,
group
yeah, nice.
anyways. And so it's like, well, no matter what, like why would I just have the call funnel just like not connected to anything and just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like they're
Might
gonna
as
go
well
into the
just throw it
group.
there.
And I've had some calls with some people that like they want the offer, but they don't have the finances to be able to do it yet. And
Yeah.
so but
Do
like now
you
they're in the group, you know.
do you have any do you have financing options available? Like, as in, do you have a platform where they can apply for finance?
No, I don't. I
I'll
haven't looked into that yet.
I'll send you a link offline if you like. I've just jumped onto something a while back, and it was like there's a setup fee like $500 or something like that, and a monthly fee, but it's kind of like it detaches you from a compliance perspective. So what I mean is, like, if I'm looking to get a loan, hypothetically, it's a portal where they can make an application, but it's just through a whole bunch of vendors, and then those loan vendors will just say, yeah, okay, we have conditionally approved a loan, and then they just go through that. So it means that, like, what I mean by the detachment from a compliance perspective is like, you're not telling them, hey, go into debt to get a loan for my coaching or whatever it is, right? Like, it's more like, cool, there's a facility available here. It's just kind of like having a big credit card, and you can pay it off any time and blah, blah. That's up to you. So once they get the cash, they then have to make a manual deposit into your banks, or pay with a credit card or whatever. So anyway, I'll send you some details if you're interested. It might just help to get those extra few that are on the fence type stuff. But
Yeah, that would be super helpful. And I'm familiar with the process because I think when I was working for this mindset coaching company, they were doing about like 20 million in sales. And
wow.
so we had that,
Oh
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
nice.
and
Yeah,
so I'm used to sending
yeah.
uh like one of the questions that I would ask people on our like triage calls that I would have was like what their credit score is or if they know what it is.
Right.
And and of course I would like do all the softeners and tell them like why I'm asking and stuff like that before that and get their approval to ask these questions and
Yeah,
then ask them. But yeah, that's why we did that because we're like, okay, if they're at like 650 or above, like then there's this option. I'd relay that to the
sure.
closer, let them know
Yeah.
like, hey, they have that option. Um, so yeah, that would be super helpful. And you mentioned something. You said the big C word, compliance, right?
Yeah.
And
Uh,
it's funny because I feel like this has been maybe it's just me, but I feel like it's been like a hot topic over the last like couple weeks. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
whole
There's a
like
few things popped off.
yeah, the whole like what's his name? Um, dude has that book called Don't Say That. Anug
Oh,
Singal or whatever.
oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, he got done by the
On it.
FTC or something, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Um, there's been a few of them. You mentioned Kevin David, who's another one that I think he was fined like 53 mil or something like that. So yeah, they're on the hunt, I think.
yeah, yeah. It's it's funny because I view it like I'm like in a way I'm grateful that it's happening because I'm starting to learn about compliance laws that I didn't even
Yeah,
know
yeah,
about, you
yeah.
know? And I'm like, okay, cool. At least I know this now.
I came from well, among other things, I've sold a lot of different things, but one of the jobs that I had was I worked in finance for a trading company. So, foreign exchange, futures options, things like that. So my job was like teaching people about the markets and our software and how to trade. But the problem is that we weren't licensed to give personal financial advice. So we'd have to make blanket statements that were observations of the market, not like, yeah, well, gold looks like it's going to go up today. It's more like the price of gold went up by 30 points overnight. Like, it was really just, and so I became super conscious because we all the calls were recorded and they play them back to us, make sure that we're compliant and stuff like that. So I've become conscious, and that's why, like, in a lot of my material, I will say, the shit is really hard. Like, it's not like the done for you easy blah blah stuff that you read in the brochure. Like, it's difficult. There's a lot of mental stuff you have to go through. Just because I guess two reasons. Number one is from a compliance perspective. Just because I don't want folks buying on this kind of idea, like, oh, Jamie sold me this dream, and now it's not like that. It's like, I'd rather just be upfront with that. But then the other part of it is it also tends to bring in bit of clientele anyway, because you're like, if you sell someone based on a hope and a dream, then they have a hope and a dream type work ethic when it comes to it. As in, like, oh, this is hard, I'm not doing it. as
Right.
opposed to like, no, I need people that are like super committed to making this happen because those are the folks that are crazy enough to make it work type stuff. And so I
Yeah.
sell less as a result, but I'd kind of rather that, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's something I think that's, well, number one, there's a couple things with that. It's number one, it's smart, right? But number two, like it feels better. It feels better to do
uh,
that, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And and it's something that I've kind of shifted, I guess, closer towards, like in some ways, like on my calls, for example, the calls that I've been doing over like the last month, like sales calls specifically. Um, I was used to really structured sales calls from like, the Sam Ovens training, and then I was learning
yeah,
from like Taylor Welch and Cole Gordon, and it's like this is how it goes. And of course, they're all different, but you got to get certain information and get them to say it, and then you know the whole deal.
yeah, yeah.
And
The 5 yeses and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and then like all the different tie downs, like spousal support, finances, timing, all the stuff, and
yeah,
and so what I've been doing for like these calls recently, I'm gonna be straight up. All the only thing that's been resulted from these calls is like deposits for people being like, I want to do this, but not ready yet.
that's
Put down
awesome.
deposits. Right. But that's like enough. That's like, okay, there's some commitment there, right?
Yeah, it
Um,
validates it. Validates it.
right, yeah. And so but what I do is I'm like, I already know you watched the value video, the VSL, you know about the offer, you know a little bit about it. And so I have the call position that's like a 30-minute call for you to ask whatever questions you have. And then
Cool. That's
and,
awesome.
and then at the beginning of the call, I'm just like, yeah, what questions do you have? And I noticed that what happens when I open it up like that, like what questions do you have? Like I'm just here to help you and answer your
Yeah,
questions. They have a bunch of questions, and usually their story that has all those details that I would normally be looking for in a sales call.
yeah. Comes
It's
out.
wrapped up in the questions. Like they tell the
Yeah, yeah,
story to
yeah,
ask the
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Yeah. And then it's
It's
like, yeah, it just
makes it
feels way
easier.
better.
It's interesting you say that because back like I took a lot of calls in 2022 in particular, like heaps and heaps and heaps of them. And my style changed. It went from like, welcome to the call, and this is how I run these things, blah blah. And I still do pre-frames, absolutely. Like if I do take them these days, which is very rare, I must admit. But usually what I'm doing is like, so cool. So what brings you here today? And it's the same thing. And then all of a sudden, like if you are prepared to listen to people, they tend to just tell you stuff, right? And it's not like you don't need to worry about, well, how long have you been doing that? It's like, it just kind of happens as part of normal conversation. You sort of like, oh, yeah, cool, great. So you can formulate that picture. And I just found it, yeah, very, very relaxing style. Yeah, really, really relaxing. And also just having that consultative approach. Like I believe that this would help and that blah, blah, blah. If it is appropriate, can I tell you a bit about what we're up to and work out if that's the right thing? And just having that soft approach, it just sounded counterintuitive, but my close rate, I felt like it went up after I softened, so shall we say, because I wasn't so sort of like, and what is your 60-day goal with that? Like it just became very, oh, tell me a bit about that. And just, it was just, yeah,
Yeah.
changed the game a little bit. So that's interesting. Interesting.
And I think that's it seems like that's something that happens like just as people start taking more calls. Um at least for me, like that's how it's been. It's like as I take more and more, it's like I don't I don't have to think about I don't have my sales like I used to have this piece of paper, right? It's not here, but just
Yeah.
I'd have a piece of paper right next to me, and it was like the a diagram of like all the stages that I need to take them through, and then like in each
Yeah.
bubble there was like the question that I should ask, and then a spot for me to take the notes. So I'm like, okay, and then I'm like looking at the next thing.
So tell me, oh damn, I can't read my own writing. Like, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right. So you said you've been trying this for yeah, 6 months, right? You've been doing it for 6 months, and
yeah. Actually, funnily you mentioned that because that was like I mean I teach my students like I think initially it's okay to have structure and I think it's okay even if you literally are reading off a script. I think it's fine because then you kind of get used to that flow because it's so uncomfortable, so unnatural for most of us to like be in that structured sales dynamic, in my opinion. And so what I started doing eventually is I was like, look, just treat it like a guideline. Just make sure that kind of these things are roughly ticked off. And of course, if a sales trainer ever like listened to my calls, I'd be like, this guy's up it. Like, how are you selling anything? But it tends to work. But then what I started doing was like, okay, what are the main points that I need to go over? And it was the same, like on a little piece of paper. It was like, what have you done? How long? What's the results? And then just having those prompts, it's sort of like, oh no, let me just, they said that. So then I just echo that back to them. Like, okay, cool. So you mentioned that you've been working this for about 6 months. And in the initial stages before you got into that, you wanted to hit this type of goal, but you're about there. Does that sound about right? Yeah, that sounds about right. So then,
Yeah.
it's like inadvertently doing a tie down anyway, because you just, echo something back to them. But maybe I should take a bunch of sales calls again. It's been a little while, but a little bit rusty these days. So.
Yeah, dude, I've been rusty too, because like for a while I wasn't really doing any sales. I was trying to figure out ads and
Yeah,
just focusing on that, and
I
you don't
think.
get any calls when the ads aren't figured out.
Yeah,
If
yeah, yeah,
you know,
exactly.
yeah, if
If
that's all
you're
you're focusing on.
one of the sort of paradigm shifts that I had, I was talking before we hit record about how, like, from a lifestyle perspective, like I went away from in April, and won't talk too much about that, but I spent almost the entire month away, like absolutely incredible trip. Worked, I mean, probably a little bit more, but call it around about 10 hours. Like it really was, I did hardly anything the entire time. I still managed to make sales, and people were like DMing me like, hey, can I get started with this thing? I did put out a couple of offers, so I wasn't, entirely undeliberate. Um, but I'm saying that because it allowed me to have that lifestyle away from having to take a bunch of sales calls. But I was wondering with you, because that's why I kept asking about the low ticket front end, because if you're building it like buyers, even if it's just like a loss leader, like it costs you, $150 to attain one buyer, and they consume your content, then they are, I think Adobe put out a stat, and it's like they're 9 times more likely to buy based on your recommendation in the future. So therefore, if you build buyers, then it's just a lot easier just to go, hey, I've taken 2 people to build
Mm,
XYZ business. Here's a Google Doc. Do you want to read through it? Or here's a cart page, buy my stuff. Like makes it kind of a little bit easier, because you're more leveraging economics in your favor, because you're kind of going, okay, well, demand already exists, and I'm going to cap out the supply because there's only so many people I can help at any one time, and so therefore you kind of build this momentum, and then this sense of kind of like a flywheel, if you know what I mean. It just keeps ticking over, and you just have this
right.
cadence on when you open spots up, and anyway, I don't know. So don't know if that's something of interest at all, but I think if you got the capacity to run ads, and you're like, I don't want to hop on calls anymore, that's a
Yeah.
pretty handy alternative to have.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because I know that I've seen some advertisers in the space that like that's exactly what they do. There's this one guy, he runs a advertising agency, right? Um, and he like swears by low ticket, but he doesn't just sell low ticket. Like all of his ads are
Yeah,
going to low ticket, and there's no like I bought one of his products, like this Facebook ads course, and one of his low ticket offers. I just bought it because I keep seeing him talk about low ticket, and I noticed that when I bought it, there was no opt. It wasn't like a two-step funnel. It was like you get
yeah,
there,
yeah.
there's the sales page, and then there's like put in all your info to buy it,
To buy.
you know.
Yeah.
And I realized what happened after
Uh,
the fact, that he's like, okay, he's building a list of people who are willing to buy things. And then
yeah.
after that, he's like,
Intent.
yeah, and he's retarget. Then I started getting retargeted for his like agency services, right? So all the buyers
Yeah.
are getting retargeted for the higher end stuff. Um, but the way that I've been looking at things is like I'm going to take sales calls for right now until I get other people to take the sales calls. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Fair enough.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's like I still like doing sales calls. It's funny. It's like when I'm not doing them, I feel like I like doing them and I want to do more of them. And when I'm not doing them that
Yeah.
much, and
Yeah.
when I'm doing them all the time,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like where it balances between being like oh, this is cool because it's generating tons of revenue versus like, oh shit, this is like a job now. Like, oh. Um, I was going to say the other thing just on the low ticket thing is one of the cleverest funnels I saw was, I think it was for an agency thing, and it was like low ticket front end, and then the upsell might have even been the bump, actually, come to think of it. But it was like, call it like $57, $59 for a coaching call. And it was like a blueprint coaching session. And they would genuinely give a coaching session. It wasn't like they would, a bait and switch type stuff.
Hmm.
But that meant that from a sales perspective, you are spending time with that person, you're helping to diagnose, so you actually know all their problems anyway, kind of like a sales call normally would go. And then at the end of it, it's like, cool, well, that's your game plan to get that sorted, but would you like some help doing so? And so therefore it makes the rest of it like, yeah, I guess so. Or, would you be opposed to hearing a little bit about how I might be able to help you achieve X, Y, Z? Oh, yeah, okay,
Mm.
then, and it's just, it means that you're kind of getting paid to pitch, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
I don't know. Or
that's
throwing out ideas.
that's really cool. It's funny, that reminds me like Sam Ovens, right?
Yeah.
When he launched, I think it was like WeTube. I don't know if you heard of that. It was like a
Yeah,
year and a
yeah,
half
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I was actually part of that
Okay,
before he
cool.
might, yeah, got rid of it.
Yeah, yeah. So he had something along those lines, right? I don't know if it's like the actual call was like a coaching call, but I know that people paid an application fee just to like try to apply to see if they were like a good fit for it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
I mean, he had the luxury of many thousands of high ticket buyers plus brand exposure. And I think when you've
yeah.
got the two of those in combo, like you can just, yeah,
Pretty
give me
much do
$100 to
anything.
hold. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was, yeah, it was kind of crazy. So, yeah. And then he, decided to go all in on school shortly thereafterwards. So, a bit of a moot point, but anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, man,
but
advertising. I should get back into it.
yeah, man, like I'm just stoked about it because I know like I like taking calls. I think one of the things that I didn't like was the minutia of like going to go getting all the calls, like making all the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
content to like following up with a bunch of people on Messenger. Like what I feel more aligned with is like not having to follow up with somebody because we had a chat a week ago and they forgot. It's like I'd rather just make my content and then like you see my content or my ads and it stirs something in you to like want to reach out or comment
Yeah,
instead of like me
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
squeezing all the juice out of Messenger that I possibly can, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't heard back from you for 15 seconds. Are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
actually, funnily enough, I had that with there was a coach trying to pitch me, and she had this ridiculous, like, I'm never that aggressive. I'm persistent in follow up, but I don't think I'm that aggressive in Messenger. But like, literally, I had a coach, sorry, I was hosting a coaching call at like, call it like, uh, let's say it was 8 a.m. my time, and she had messaged me at 7:43. And so then I jumped on the call and then, called, took a couple of hours. And I got another message. I looked back then, messaged it later on, and it was like at 8:17, she goes, well, if you're not going to answer, how can I possibly help you? And I'm like, what? We're just like literally in the early stages of just, a bit of rapport building stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, well, if you're going to be condescending, okay, fine. Like, I really want to work with you now. So, um,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
uh,
that's hilarious. But
I think
dude,
the other thing I
no,
was just
go
going to say
for it.
with the ads for yourself as well, like it's also easier to get the impressions as well. And so I've got a friend of mine who's just doing some very loose retargeting stuff at the moment, and I'm seeing his stuff pop up multiple times per day. And obviously, it's, we're very good friends, so we communicate a lot. But I was still like, I was messaging him like, I feel like I want to buy his stuff, and I'm already part of his coaching stuff anyway. But it's like, like it's working. It must be working on other people as well. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. And the Laurel Porty stuff really helped me. It broke down some, I guess, false beliefs that I didn't know that I had, which is how they always are, right? Um,
Yeah,
about ads and not just like budgets and things like that. because YouTube ads are more expensive than Facebook ads for sure if you want them to be optimized.
Yeah.
Like within this year, like you can't just run $5 ads on YouTube. They'll be optimized, but it's going
Yeah.
to take a
Yeah.
long time. Um,
Yeah.
but the one thing is like the whole concept of like using the algorithm's data, even though I don't know the data, and like with retargeting,
Yeah.
where it's like I don't know, like I'm building lists on Facebook right now for people that are just watching videos. I'm paying like a dollar. Like I'm not even focusing on this, but I'm paying like a dollar, $2 a day for like certain videos to certain markets because I want to try to pull
Yeah.
people into affiliate marketing who aren't even into it yet. So I'm like making content
Yeah.
for people who are
Yeah.
doing
Top
appliance
of funnel.
repair, yeah, top of funnel stuff. And so I'm like building this list of people there, but I don't know who they are. I just know that they watched a certain percentage of this video. And then like and that
Oh, okay.
audience is like so then I'm gonna run like my like it's also top of funnel, but like I even say at the end of that video, like, hey, and like if you don't even know what affiliate marketing is, like don't trip. Like I'm gonna make another video. You'll see it somewhere, either here on Instagram. I use AI and automation, like it will figure out when to show it to you. And
Yeah.
and so the other
That's
video is
good.
gonna be me explaining affiliate marketing and like what it is. Um, but I'm just gonna retarget people who watch 25% of that other video, like at a
Yeah.
dollar a
Yeah.
day,
Absolutely.
and like kind
Yep.
of take them through the whole like big domino journey to the point where it's like book a call, And I know that all the
Yep.
people who went through all that stuff, it's like I don't know any of their names, any of their emails, nothing. I won't know any of that until they book a call. But I know that I
Yep.
can see the number that like the audience is growing, that people are
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely.
And
Um, that so you're doing that on Facebook, Insta, or on YouTube?
I'm doing that on Facebook. My YouTube stuff
Okay.
is like more because that I'm doing that really passively. Like I'm literally paying a couple dollars a day
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
for that.
Um, one of the best techniques that I used to use for lead generation stuff back in the day was we called it the carpet bomb. And it's like, in simple terms, it's like you take a 60-second plus length video and same deal, but like you're retargeting the folks that have watched like 50 to 75%. And what I found, it still buzzes me out, this one, but like I split test everything and I found just a static image as the follow-up was actually uh, a higher conversion at a lower cost than like another video. And so it was basically like they watch a video and then they start seeing your stuff everywhere. So they're more inclined to click through. So,
mm,
but you're just like do it to a real broad audience who are just like, they're interested in. Obviously, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more they watch, the more engaged they are in your content. So it's easy to retarget and stuff. So,
right. And
um,
actually, I can see how that makes sense too, because like with the image ads, um, especially if you're using like Advantage Plus placements, um,
yeah,
like it's gonna put those like all over the place, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
and it's usually like pretty cheap when they're doing that. But yeah, I'm definitely I'll check that out because right now I have that first ad. I have some top of funnel stuff for affiliate marketers going,
yeah,
but I started really focusing on or making one for people who are in appliance repair or like home service industries, right? Because I was in that for a while and I
yeah,
know their pains and their frustrations and so it's funny. I went on this lead scraper website to get a bunch of leads um, for like appliance repair in Los Angeles or whatever, and like got the CSV file like 700 people or whatever,
yeah.
like uploaded it into Facebook, and then just had Facebook create a lookalike audience. So I'm like, these
Oh,
people, these
nice.
leads are probably burnt because they're on this
Yeah,
list,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. It would have been hammered.
Yeah, but like I can upload this into Facebook and tell Facebook to find all the people that are just like this,
Yeah,
and
yeah, man.
that's who I'm running that like dollar a day ad to. And the first one is just a video of me talking about all the pains and frustrations of being in the trades and what that's
Yeah,
like, and that there's an alternative and that I don't do that anymore. And but we'll see. Maybe I'll follow that up with like another video talking about affiliate marketing, and then after
yeah.
that, like, hey, either join our group, low ticket offer, or maybe even book a call. I'll figure it out. I have to test some stuff.
There was another technique that I use, and this is I got it from she's an Australian woman called Jodie Millwood, I think it is, and it's called the $10 a day client attraction formula. And basically, and I can't remember the sequence, but it's basically where you have, I think it's like 5 or 6 pieces of content over like 30 days, and so it's like day one video then retargets to like a static post, and then another video, and so on and so forth. And you're making offers, I think, on day, on the third bit of content. But then what you're effectively doing is you're creating an exclusion audience. So like the people that see days 5 to 10, they're not seeing days 1 anymore, and so you just keep doing that. So it's like this almost like a sideways funnel. Like they just keep seeing new pieces of content as an ad format, but because it's different and there's different pain points and I guess objections and things that are being handled, then eventually you're doing like the hard call to action, like, hey, last 5 days or whatever it is, like last chance to get your free lead magnet, whatever it is. And they used to crush apparently for, like I say, about $10 a day. So anyway, so
Yeah,
there's lots you can experiment with anyway, I guess.
yeah. See, and I love that stuff because it's like, man, like you get something like that working, like that's super cool because you're like getting cold traffic in, warming them up through the ads, and then by the time they hit your funnel, right, it's like they're already like ready to go. And
Yeah,
you just turn up the cold
just
traffic pricing, you know?
crank it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But
That's the one.
dude, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know we went a little bit over an hour. I don't know what your
Oh, all
schedule's
good,
like.
man.
What time is it over there right now? Is it like 1:15?
Yeah, 1:15.
Okay.
Yeah, I should probably disappear and go and grab some lunch. And I don't know. I haven't had, I still rattled it. I got back a couple of weeks ago from Japan, and I'm still just, I don't know why. I got really sick, and so I haven't been sleeping that well. And so
Mm,
I read another call in about an hour and a half, and I think I'm just gonna go and have lunch and have a nap, and then go and jump on this call. So
yeah. Nothing wrong with it, dude. I take naps like especially if my days are like I don't do it consistently, but it's funny because I've trained myself for so long that it's like especially with the Sam Oven stuff that I went through that really
yeah,
hardcore and it's like I gotta be like a robot just here for 14 hours. And then it's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
do you though? Like you don't have
Yeah, yeah,
to.
exactly. Yeah. That's actually, it's an interesting paradox, funnily enough, because my journey to success it took a very long time, about 7.5 years before, success, whatever you want to call that. But what I've found paradoxically is if I work less now, I create with a different sense of freedom and detachment around contents and things like that, which, like I say, it's a paradox because it's like I'm working less, but more people are attracted to that. So it's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. It's funny. I've noticed the same too. It's like even like those calls that I was on where people put down deposits, like we got follow-up schedule, all that stuff. It's like I'm literally on the call and I'm like, and it's mind blowing to me because it's like I'm spending money to get you guys on these calls, but I'm still on the
Yeah,
calls and I'm like, I don't care like if you buy this or not. Like I used to know that that's what you're supposed to do and feel
yeah.
like, and I used to like try to model that, but I wouldn't
Yeah,
feel it, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, 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 yeah. Because you can intellectualize it, right? And yeah, I say that to my students all the time. Like you have to feel the lesson, because I think that's the thing, man. Like you can, especially when it comes to those things, like, oh, you've got to be detached, but you can act detached, but then you're still like, please, old Gil needs to make a sale, like.
Yeah,
um, but that's cool, man. That's a very powerful place to be.
yeah.
Powerful place to be. So
And
cool.
it makes it just fun too. Just not
Yeah,
all this
yeah,
pressure. I'm not like sweating and like hoping that they buy or anything like that. Um,
yeah.
it's funny to just say that my first call that I ever did, uh, I was working with Tyga at the time and Tyga Rush, and I had this call, my very first like sales call with a person, right? Not a mock call. And before they hopped onto the Zoom, I was like doing deep breathing exercises and my camera was off because I was just trying to calm myself down.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man.
I was sharing the audio with Tyga so he can critique it. He's like, "What is that? What does that sound?" I was like,
Yes. Why is that weird deep breathing in the background? Like, oh, that's how I relax myself. Oh man.
that's funny
Uh,
now, but yeah,
I can relate to that one, man. Like not so much the Zoom. I was okay with Zoom, but like back in when I first started selling stuff, it was like I just arrived in Australia, and I basically only ever done like construction and laboring and mining and all sorts of random stuff. So for me to have an inside job working for a real estate agent, I was like, this is pretty new. And we were given like a list of leads that were probably like collected like 5 years prior. So this is like 2000, late 2005. And yeah, the dude was just like, all right, start calling. I'm like, oh, okay, and what am I meant to say? Like, oh, well, just tell me you got some properties that have just come on the market. You'd love to show them. I'm like, okay. And I'd have to psych myself up, and I was sweating. And Melbourne's like stupidly hot sometimes. I'm like sweating and like, oh, this is Jamie. I was so bad. But then eventually I nailed it. Like, it's like anything. It just all it takes is a couple 100,000 reps and you're fine. Like it's
yeah, that's it. Oh man.
uh
Well, dude, it's been a pleasure chatting and yeah, dude, this is just cool, just hopping on here and
oh yeah,
catching up,
man.
man.
Enjoyed it. Likewise, should do it again. Exchange notes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um,